Cop accused of sex abuse cover-up talked the police chief out of suspending youth program. So, remember when I said all cops are bastards? Remember when I made like a video on that? I did like a segment about how there are no good cops because so many cops cover for each other, even though they know that their fellow cops are doing awful shit. This is one of these examples of that, okay? So we're going to go through this, and it's going to be worse than you imagine. Louisville Police Chief Steve Conrad suspended the Youth Explorer program last year over allegations officers were sexually abusing participants, but reversed himself about a week later at the urging of one of the officers now accused of covering up the abuse, Courier-Journal has learned. For the record, Courier-Journal is not like some schmuck website. It is a local website for Louisville. And also, worth noting, the Louisville Police Department is also the same police department that murdered Breonna Taylor. So, you know, again, ACAB. Conrad ordered the program stopped in a November 18th, 2016 memorandum obtained by Courier-Journal, citing the Public Integrity Unit's investigation into former officer Brandon Wood. I believe this decision is in the best interest of both our department and the community we serve, Conrad said. Major Curtis Flaherty, whatever, doesn't matter, he's a pedophile, named in a civil suit by a former scout who says Flaherty helped cover up the sexual abuse, sent a memo 3 days later asking the chief to lift the suspension. I believe this suspension penalizes the explorers who've invested so much of their time in the program. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, the Explorers program, the Youth Explorer program, is basically a program wherein Boy Scouts of America can join up because they want to become police officers. So it is run by the Louisville PD, and so this put Louisville PD officers in charge of Boy Scouts. And those officers seem to have abused their positions of authority. Let's keep going on, because it gets worse. Also, there's also this. Teenage girl says Louisville cop coerced her into having sex. Great. And she's a former Explorer scout. Yeah, so this keeps going deeper, okay? Yeah. Hello, Intoxicated Rose. I haven't seen you in chat before. I'm sorry that you're coming in at literally one of the worst stories I've ever covered. Yep, the Boy Scouts are getting talked about. Suggested that the program meant for youth ages 14 through 19 interested in law enforcement instead be restricted to 2 meetings a month. He said a person from either the department's Professional Standards Unit or the Boy Scouts Lincoln Heritage Council would be assigned to monitor those meetings. Flaherty also told Conrad that no parents shared any concerns after being sent a letter informing them about the investigation into Wood. The attendance at meetings continues to remain strong, he said. In a November 29th response, Conrad agreed to keep the program open despite the investigation. The chief said he preferred assigning a monitor from the Boy Scouts for Explorer meetings over one from the police department and asked Flaherty to find a monitor. The revelations about the program's suspension come amid growing scrutiny of the chief's decision-making related to the scandal, which has embroiled the police department for more than a year. Wood and another former officer, Kenneth Betts, were indicted this year on several charges that they had sex with explorers while they were advisors in the program, which was run by police in partnership with the Boy Scouts of America. Both have pleaded not guilty. Attorney David Yates, who has filed a civil suit on behalf of a former explorer alleging abuse, said the suspension and reversal demonstrates that the chief let other commanders guide his decisions even after the investigations began. Even after leadership within the department could no longer turn a blind eye to the blatant and extensive sexual abuse, of the kids entrusted with the LMPD Explorer pedophilia ring, the safety, protection, and treatment of the children still came second to Major Flaherty's wishes, said Yates, who is also the Metro Council president. Let's see, Lee Sittlinger, who's representing Flaherty in the civil suit, said his client has always had a heart for the program and believed it could continue given that Wood had been suspended from the program and was assigned to desk duty. Again, he was being charged with pedophilia, and he just had desk duty. He thought since Wood was out of the program, there was no immediate threat to the kids, and he didn't want the 100 or plus kids to be penalized. Conrad's order to suspend the program occurred 5 months before Mayor Greg Fisher suspended the program indefinitely. The mayor's decision came a day after Courier-Journal was first to report details of the then sealed lawsuit filed by a former scout identified as NC, alleging he was raped by Betts and Woods and that Louisville police concealed it. The allegations represent an appalling betrayal of trust and abuse of power and threaten a program that has helped so many young men and women interested in becoming police officers and law enforcement leaders. Now, I also need to emphasize to you that, again, it was only closed after the Courier-Journal first started reporting on the story. So, Mayor Greg Fisher is also culpable in all of this. So, like, guys, this story is perfectly encapsulates so much of what's wrong with our current system when it comes to law enforcement. It's absolutely appalling. Let's see. The mayor's office referred all questions to the latest developments to the Jefferson County Attorney's Office, which did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Fisher said he first learned about the misconduct in the Explorer program last October when he received a heads up from Conrad that there would be media reports about it. He also launched an internal review conducted by former U.S. Attorney Kerry Harvey of how police handled the Explorer investigations. Fisher's spokesman Chris Pointer said the mayor does not have a deadline for the review to be completed. He's told Mr. Harvey to ensure his review is thorough and leaves no stone unturned. 3 years prior to the start of the investigation into Wood, police had also investigated whether Betts had inappropriate contact with the 16-year-old female Explorer scout. The girl's mother said in an interview last year that Betts had sent his daughter photos of himself half-dressed and kind of sexual-looking pictures. Public Integrity Unit investigators did not record audio of their interview with the girl and her parents according to court records, and no police notes from the interview are known to exist. Weird. How could that be? So strange for them to, divert from their standard protocols. The former scout's mother now alleges Flaherty urged their family to keep quiet about the situation, according to court records. Former explorers in the program have said Flaherty was Betts' mentor. The two had known each other since Betts was in the Explorer program, and Flaherty wrote a recommendation letter when Betts joined the force in 2006. Flaherty retired from the police department on August 1st. Ooh. Yeah, this looks pretty damning. Police don't typically retire unless they're getting nailed for something. Sorry, coughing. A former police integrity unit commander told Courier-Journal that Flaherty shouldn't have been involved in the 2013 investigation given his dual roles as head of Public Integrity Unit and the Explorer program. In his memo to Conrad last year, Flaherty said he would give up his role managing the Explorer program. Yeah, how many weeks did he get suspended? Jesus. It is fortunate that in the past 3 years there have been 2 Explorer advisors accused of inappropriate interaction with explorers, Flaherty said. This is inexcusable and goes against both departmental and Learning for Life policies. Well, I fucking hope so. I have stringently advocated youth protection protocols and training. It is disheartening when individuals choose to disregard this. Okay, I'm gonna keep my cool. In this memo, Conrad's memorandum reversing his suspension of the program last November also asked Flaherty to continue his role as the Explorer program's leader. I realize there will be many more difficult days ahead. Confident this Explorer program can emerge from this stronger than before if we meet this challenge head on. Again, I feel like if you have evidence of sexual abuse in your youth group, it's probably a good idea to shut down that youth group. I feel like this isn't a really controversial thing. You know, get around to restructuring it a little bit. Get around to making it a bit better. We're not done, though. We are not done. I need to find this story. And just take a look. Yeah, here we go. LMPD sues to avoid releasing Explorer case records, including 9,000 found in hidden folder. So, let's go down. This is from last year. So, this story has been going on for a long time now, okay? The Louisville Metro Police Department has sued the Courier-Journal to avoid releasing records in the Explorer Scout sex abuse scandal that roiled city government and led to criminal prosecutions of 2 of its officers. The move follows the October 24th ruling from the Kentucky Attorney General saying the city's argument that it didn't possess the records had no merit, and that the Courier-Journal was entitled to the investigatory files it requested because they had requested the files. So legally, the city is supposed to provide these files to the journal, and the city was just saying, "Herder, we don't have them. Sorry." All right. The lawsuit filed Thursday claims the police department didn't violate the state's Open Records Act because it didn't possess the records and had turned them over to the FBI. But in fact, city officials found 9,000 responsive documents related to the Explorer program investigation in a hidden folder on an LMPD computer while the appeals process with the Attorney General was still pending, the city revealed mid-appeal. Before informing the Attorney General or the Courier-Journal, the police department contacted the FBI task force it had previously sent records to and had the city's information technology department remove the files and give them to the task force. John Fleischecker, one of the attorneys representing the Courier-Journal, wrote in a letter following that the department that in the 4 decades since he helped write the state's open records law, he couldn't recall another case of an agency so egregiously subverting the intent of the act by willfully and purposefully disposing of responsive records during a pending appeal. Michael Abate, who represents the Courier-Journal, called it a shocking and willful violation of the law to dispose of 9,000 admittedly responsive records, which concern an allegation of criminal misconduct by LMPD officers. The police department's lawsuit makes no mention of those 9,000 documents. It notes that since the removal of the investigative records from LMPD, no records pertaining to the investigation have been provided to LMPD, created by LMPD, or are intended to be stored on any LMPD computers or other electronic equipment. It is asking a Jefferson Circuit Court judge to reverse the Attorney General's ruling and conclude that the city complied with the Open Records Act in all respects. So, yeah, it's just like a weird thing that they just happen to have 9,000 records of this case. that were in a hidden file on a computer, and despite a court order telling them that they were legally compelled to turn these over, they instead sent them to the FBI and threw their hands up saying, nothing we can do. We sent them to the FBI. Whoops, we complied with the order. Haha. Now, again, we could go through this with more detail, but let's take a look at more. Because look at this. This is from a few days ago. Louisville Metro Police accused of hiding more than 730,000 records related to sexual abuse of minors by officers. Fuck. So, Louisville Metro Police Department is accused of concealing 738,000 records documents documenting the sexual abuse of minors who participated in the Explorer Scouts program, the department's monitoring program for youth considering professions in law enforcement. The Courier-Journal reports the Explorer Scout scandal, which began to unfold in October 2016, led to the program being shut down in 2017. The shutdown followed a lawsuit filed by an unnamed 22-year-old who accused officers Kenneth Bates and Brandon Wood of sexual abuse starting when he was 17. Both officers were eventually charged criminally and pleaded guilty. Woods was sentenced to 70 months in prison for attempted enticement of a teen, and Betts was sentenced to 16 years for child pornography and enticement. Oh boy. He also pleaded guilty to sodomy charges in state court. The Courier-Journal last year requested all records regarding sexual abuse of minors by 2 officers in the Explorer Scout program for youths interested in law enforcement careers. Police officials and the Jefferson County Attorney's Office said they couldn't comply, insisting all records had been turned over to the FBI for its investigation. But that wasn't true, according to records the Courier-Journal recently obtained in the appeal of the open court records case. In fact, the department still had 738,000 records which the city allowed to be deleted. Lady Boy G, sodomy charges are basically being charged for raping a kid in the ass. I didn't know how to put that better. It's pretty fucking bad. Anyway, so the city allowed 738,000 records, individual records of information being pertaining directly to the sexual abuse of minors by police. Now, yeah, exactly. The 730,000 plus cases implies that maybe there were more than 2 officers that knew about this, or more than 2 officers that participated in this. It's absolutely fucking awful. I don't know how you get this many records without there being way more people involved. And so, yeah, like, the city allowed it to be deleted too, which must mean that this was something that was so bad that it would sink so many different careers. This is absolutely insanity. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. You have people making up stories. You have QAnon talking about how Donald Trump has brought JFK Jr. back to life, and they're waging a secret war together, like some kind of buddy cop film, to destroy pedophiles. Meanwhile, I don't think I've seen QAnon talk at all about this story that has been unfolding for years, and there is a literal conspiracy within this local government to keep it quiet. That needs to be, you know what? I would watch a buddy cop movie about like Donald Trump and JFK Jr. Taking down pedophile rings. I would watch that. I would. True. Do you think them being police officers is important, or that any organization of that size with that power would have done the same? No, I think being police officers is critical to this, because I think like police officers generally get like the benefit of the doubt. Police officers generally get special privileges. They're literally above the law when it comes to a lot of different issues. I forget what the actual term is. Qualified immunity. They have qualified immunity. There's also the issue of cops being more trustworthy for some reason than a lot of your average other people. You have the issue that a lot of people within the government and within the media typically need to work with the police. So there is a incentive for them to stay on good terms with police officers. And so there is a whole, and especially if more people get involved in this and more people know about it and don't do anything about it, then it starts implicating everybody else. I don't know what that was. Yeah, I think that was spam, guys. I think that was spam. It's very disturbing to me that either the county attorney's office or the police department was so dead set on making sure those records never reached the public, Metro County President David James said Wednesday. James also said he will talk to other council members about holding people accountable who need to be held accountable. Sure, we'll believe it when we see it. Meanwhile, according to WKLY, a third LMPD officer, Brad Schumann, was charged in federal court last week with sexually abusing an underage girl participating in the program in 2010. Schumann resigned after he was indicted. WKLY also reports that a judge has ordered that Louisville release all documents related to the investigation, which is not concluded yet. When it is concluded, investigators will present all findings to Mayor Greg Fisher, James, and the chairs of the two largest Metro Council caucuses. Gene Porter, a spokesman for Mayor Fisher, told the Courier-Journal that the mayor's focus is going to be on the truth in this horrific case. Issues of ownership of records in an investigation led by a federal task force are not as clear as your newspaper would suggest. Porter said in a statement, the mayor is awaiting the independent review being conducted by Jefferson County Attorney's Office before deciding next steps, and he remains committed to releasing all documents that the law allows. Except apparently for 738,000 of them that were allowed to be deleted. Why'd you need to delete those? Why, Mayor Greg Fisher, why did you need to delete 738,000 documents that directly related to sexual abuse of minors in your department? Why did you need to do that? I don't think that's an issue that is as clear-cut as a federal task force told you it was okay. I don't think it's that clear-cut. So now we're gonna finish off. We're almost through this, guys. Okay. More than 82,000 people have been made sexual abuse claims against the Boy Scouts of America ahead of today's deadline to file in the organization's bankruptcy case. The alleged victims span generations, as young as 9 years old and as old as 95.
A staggering number of people have made sexual abuse claims against the Boy Scouts of America ahead of today's deadline to come forward. The more than 82,000 alleged victims span generations, as young as 9 years old as 95. The number of accusations is even greater than those against the Roman Catholic Church in the U.S. The Boy Scouts filed for bankruptcy protection before settling these abuse cases. Errol Barnett has the story of one man who says his nightmare lasted for years.
I was in there 5 minutes before he unzipped my sleeping bag, had his hand down my pants.
Gil Gale was just 11 years old when he says a scout leader first assaulted him during a campout in Alabama. Several years later, he says another scout leader violently assaulted him when he was around 13 years old.
He raped me, and I can tell you that I struggled with drugs and alcohol until I was 32. It also caused, I took a couple of swings at suicide. I was just in so much pain.
Gale is one of thousands who are currently accusing members of the Boy Scouts of America of sexual abuse.
This may be the largest child sexual abuse scandal in certainly America and maybe the world.
Michael Fow represents over 1,000 former Boy Scouts.
The problem was not a few bad apples, wasn't a number of mistakes, but obviously a systematic failure on the part of the Boy Scouts from top on down.
The organization says it intends to set up a victims' compensation fund and said in a statement, quote, "We are heartbroken that we cannot undo their pain," adding that they are committed to working as expeditiously as possible to provide survivors of abuse with equitable compensation.
If we can somehow make the
guys, how does this not cause the entire organization to implode? How do you, as someone who, like, even if you assume the people who are running the Boy Scouts of America are, like, doing so in, like, honest, like, good faith, like, they didn't have any idea what was going on within their organization, anything like that, even if you assume that, wouldn't you take a look at your organization and be like, holy fuck, guys, we have more claims of sexual abuse against us than the Catholic Church. We should probably shut down. I don't know why they don't, like, stop and shut this down. It's not like the Boy Scouts are, like, an institution, like a religion. They're just like an after-school activity. Also, Colin, thank you very much for the follow. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Everybody, say hi to my friend, Colin. He just hit the follow button. We play D&D together. But like, I mean, they are very closely tied to religion. Oh yeah, his tag's Jeril. Oh yeah, I mean, there are true Icelandic Jesus. There are always, like, incentives for them to keep going. Obviously, there's always the money. There's always the issues in that regard. But, like, I can't imagine having this. I can't imagine being in that position and, like, if I was a good faith actor, not wanting to close the entire thing down and burn it to the fucking ground. Like, just let people go into the Girl Scouts, man. I'm sorry I cut this guy off, but, like, I can't wrap my head around this. Like, yeah, we're gonna make this victim fund, and then we're gonna go back to operating like normal, I guess? I don't know. I only ever play D&D online. All the people I play with are, like, on opposite sides of the country. Worst part to me is I feel like there's a way to do this so much better. Oh yeah, 100%. Please mentor me. Is this a bad take? Female-only scout leaders. I know they can still abuse. It's way less likely. I think burning it down is a better option. Just curious. No. I think that there is an element here of very little accountability, also mixed with very little, like, sexual education. Like, guys, I think if we are gonna have scouts at all, like, every year you need to have, like, a sit down with sexual education. Like, you need to sit these kids down and be like, okay, here's what bad touching is, okay? Don't let other people do that. If they do it, please report it to like, someone. And then you need to have accountability systems whereby these kids are not alone in the woods with like, adults that they don't know. That absolutely insane. Like, and even then, I'm not sure that I would trust any organization like this ever again. I don't know what a zone leader is. Don't the Girl Scouts also have claims against them? Probably, but I don't know if they're as widely publicized, you know? Oh, I haven't streamed any D&D. Actually, if you guys are... this is such a weird confluence of topics. I'm really sorry. It's true. Gerald does play a building inspector in my D&D game. We'll table the D&D talk and finish after we've, finish this story on child sexual abuse. Okay.
If we can somehow make the price the Boy Scouts pay so incredibly painful that systematic changes can happen that will ensure it never happens to anyone else, I think all 80,000 of us would settle for that.
Now, Mr. Pfau and the other attorneys we spoke with say they expect to hear from yet more former Scouts, each of them with their own painful stories, before the end of the day. Today is the filing deadline. Outside advisors will then review the 82,000 plus allegations. Tony, that process alone of just looking at all these claims could take years.
This was absolutely heartbreaking on every single level. Like this entire fuck. Yeah.